freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 381 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is Aloha Gun Culture.
Aloha.
Yeah, and our guest today is Christy Guzman. Christy is a wife and mother of four. She is a Hawaii State Director to the DC Project and a Girl and a Gun facilitator. The Maui Aloha chapter?
Yeah.
I can't do that very well. Anyway, Christy is also the Hawaiian Firearms Coalition Maui Director, Hawaii Rifle Association Maui Director, and the founder, Hawaii Youth Livestock Association.
Busy lady.
Christy and her husband, Kimo, own the Circle L Ranch in Maui.
Well, welcome to the show, Miss Christy. And is that what we're seeing behind you there?
Aloha. Yes, that is our ranch.
Yeah, why didn't we just
some of the critters?
Why didn't we just fly down and do that there?
I know. We weren't thinking
Right?
clearly. Fantastic. My goodness. And yes, aloha indeed. So Christy was also just a plaintiff in a Pro 2A lawsuit in Hawaii. So let's dive in right there and talk to us about this lawsuit and the general temperature of the Second Amendment in Hawaii. There's some crazy stuff that happens in your state. And you would think that it would be
Absolutely.
all about live and let live and just everybody do your thing and freedom. And it's not really that way.
Yeah, people like to think so, and it's really a surprise for a lot of people who come from the States, either just to visit or whatever. So we have no reciprocity laws here for concealed carry or anything like that. It's actually not even allowed. None of our county police departments have ever issued. I think there's been 3 in the history of the state. A couple of them were for movie actors like The Rock, and they were temporary, so 1 or 2 weeks while they're here filming, but we've never had anything like that. As far as temperature, we are ice cold. We are probably the second most stringent state in the country when it comes to gun laws, registration, and things like that. So a bunch of us got together with the Hawaii Firearms Coalition and one of our gun stores here in Maui County, firearms dealers so what happened was after the Supreme Court lawsuit where tasers became a part of the Second Amendment, in July of last year, our governor signed into law a taser bill, which basically made tasers legal in the state of Hawaii to carry, to own, to protect yourself. And as of January 1st of this year, that had become law. So in July of last year, all the counties were notified that they would have to implement this new rule. And the other counties throughout the state of Hawaii, Kauai, Oahu, the Big Island, all of the mayors and the council people got together and said, okay, yes, we're going to follow the state law. Maui County Council, for some reason, decided to put on extra ordinances or extra requirements for gun shops who wanted to sell the product. And one of those requirements, and you probably know a little bit more about this because you folks have the auction house and stuff, but one of the requirements was a $3 million insurance policy that also required a $2 million per occurrence, and they had to name the county of Maui, its departments, its directors, its employee. I mean, basically, they had to insure everybody, including the janitor, on
Oh,
this
wow.
policy.
God.
So, so the county council made it really unpractical for any dealer to
Mhm.
even want to apply for this thing and for the permit. And the thing is we had a hearing. So the county council had a hearing on March 14th in where the council members openly discussed, and I think the quote was, I may be wrong, I got to check, but the quote was something to the effect of, how do we stop this?
Wow.
And so,
We're talking tasers, people.
right,
Tasers,
non-lethal
non-lethal.
self-protection.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and then during that same meeting, there was a bunch of us on the meeting who wanted to testify, and we all took screenshots of it. Thank God for technology. But we were at that point not let in. So they do it on Blue Jeans, which is similar to Zoom, and we were not let into the meeting. We were told that the administrator or the host had prevented it. It comes up in a little window that the
Mhm,
host is preventing you access to the meeting. So it was
mhm.
myself, it was Taji Kutake, Mark Redeker, who was the gun shop owner. So there was a bunch of the Hawaii Farms Coalition people that were not allowed access to the meeting to testify.
Wow.
So it
I
was
mean, how
really
blatant.
interesting. Yeah.
And we're talking Hawaii, the 50th state in the United States that has a constitution and has a Second Amendment. We're talking about that Hawaii, right?
Absolutely. Yes, I think so.
Okay.
So
Wow.
Sometimes I question
insane.
that myself.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I want to dig deeper into, so then therefore you're part of this lawsuit. But before we do that, like, where does this idea or this culture of, the heavy boot of government, like, where does that come from in a state where there is sort of this other whole, like I was saying, live and let live kind of an atmosphere?
Yeah. That one kind of puzzled me a lot, but I think it goes back. In Hawaii, our culture is a lot of hunting and gathering, and so in the beginning, when I first started my 2A advocacy, I couldn't understand it. I'm like, why are all these local people so against the Second Amendment, or just not educated? And I traced back to my roots. My family came here. I'm Portuguese, Japanese, Hawaiian, good mix. But my family originally came here to work in the sugar plantations. And so, which most local families did. If you were in the sugar plantation, once they became unionized, everybody became Democrats. And it
Mm,
wasn't a choice, it was a cultural thing. My family were Democrats, so everybody then and thereafter were just Democrats. And
mhm.
so Hawaii is really a blue state. I think we only have currently sitting one Republican senator, and we have 2 Republicans in our House of Representatives at the
Mhm.
state level. Our
Wow.
federal representatives, all 4 of them are Democrats.
Wow. That is
So we're a
crazy.
blue
And
state. Yeah.
y- at one point, or maybe more than one point, you've actually had elected officials that have tried to repeal the Second
Yeah.
Amendment. Am
So
I even
thank God.
saying that right? Because that
Yes.
sounds weird coming out of my mouth.
No, yeah, it does. It's like one of those things where, what the heck are you thinking? Luckily, this one senator, rumor has it, she is resigning this year, and her Senate seat is actually going to be open for election. So we're looking hard. I've even considered it myself, but um
Yes.
it was a shock back in I'm going to say it was 2016, 2018. Senator Ross Baker got together with a couple other senators, Carl Rhodes and a few of them, and they actually wrote legislation and petitioned Washington DC to repeal the Second Amendment.
Whoa.
And it was a bomb. It didn't go anywhere, but that's how far they've gone in trying to prevent us our constitutional right.
It's so crazy. And are there, through the different islands, are there different islands that are more or less pro or anti Second Amendment?
The more that I've been doing this, Cheryl, it's amazing at how many people let me, oops, I think I lost you
Lose
there.
your earpiece. There it is.
It's amazing at how many people are coming out of the woodworks now, and they're actually saying, you know, hey, after our lawsuit broke a couple weeks ago, I got tons of messages from people telling me, hey, I'm pro Second Amendment. Thank you for what you're doing. And these are people I've known for the last 15, 20 years in Hawaii politics. Department directors, department heads from Maui County. I mean, just different people. But I think what it is they're just afraid for their jobs.
Mm.
So they started messaging me separately, and it's like, let me know how we can help. They obviously can't come out and testify, but we've been getting a slew of people willing to help out or jump on the lawsuit, or, you know, just in general. I've even been told, hey, go put up signs, you know, put up like yard signs or posters, or let's do a picketing thing, a rally in front of the county building. I'm like, okay, we're wait a minute. We need to plan something here. But it's been amazing. It's I don't think any of the islands is more or less. All of our islands have a good culture of hunting and sportsmen, and which is why I got into A Girl and a Gun, because I noticed that there was really nothing here specifically for women. We did have a women's chapter of Well Armed Women a while back. I don't know what happened. I know they used to have a website up, and then I couldn't find them. So I knew Robin Sandoval. I said, hey, Robin, let's, you know, get this thing going. And it's been amazing. They've got a conference coming up at the end of the month I'm hoping to make, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, there's
But
only one
yeah.
of you, and you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
So okay, going back to this lawsuit. So what exactly is it, and how does it play out? Is this, you know, just directed at this one county and the people involved? Is this something that could end up at the Supreme Court? Like how, what is
So
it
because
exactly?
yes, because it's a 2A lawsuit, it has been filed in federal court. It is
Okay.
directed at the county of Maui and the Maui County Council specifically, because the county council is the one in charge of making the ordinances. The county, all the other counties have said, we're not getting involved, we're not doing anything, and they just basically rolled out a permit process similar to like the existing gun stores or existing dealers in the state of Hawaii, and said, if you have a permit, you know, here you are, you know, it falls under the same category. They're not putting any additional restrictions on their permitting process. So with Maui County, they decided that they were gonna put additional restrictions, which then, because it's really weird. We have a state, but because it's per county, we can only, the state law reads that we can only purchase in the county that you live in. So if I wanted to purchase a taser, I couldn't hop on a plane for $40, fly to Oahu, buy one there, and then come home. That'd be illegal. So
Gotcha. You can't have
we
one
have to,
mailed in.
yeah, we actually, well, you could, but then they require you to register it. So
You have to register a taser.
it's, they put some weird restrictions on, and I think you guys are familiar with also the county council also required or federal background checks, which are only legal for firearms purchases. So they want the gun stores to do background checks on people that are illegal.
Oh my gosh.
Which
so
is
like a 4473 form for a taser
for a
is what
taser.
they're asking for. And then it's like, well, that's
So
not even a process because it's not a,
yeah,
a
what they did was they exactly
launching mechanism.
Yep.
I don't know. It's so crazy. I don't even know how to make sense of it.
We all don't. That's why the lawsuit came about. We've got professionals handling that part for us. But it was, you know, the thing is and what I don't get is that I think so in Maui we've got nine members of the county council. 7 of them are women. 2 of them are fairly young. I think just a little, you know, 35 or so. And it's really sad to see that women just don't get it. You know, I was a victim of a robbery and an assault where, you know, this guy basically, he stole my cell phone and my wallet out of my purse, and I fought back I tried to
Mhm.
stop him. And when we went to court, interestingly enough, when we went to court, be, even though he made the first move to steal, I responded back. I was the one who responded back. I was at fault.
Oh my gosh. So
So the way
self-defense
that
is not okay,
is not,
apparently?
yeah, it was really weird. I fought back, and the police actually told me, you should have just let it go. It was like,
Mm.
and then in court it was like, well, the jury decided, well, you got your stuff back, even though you were scratched up and bruised up a little bit, you got your stuff back. So there was nothing, the charges basically fell through. There was no assault. He wasn't found guilty of anything, and the comment from the jury was, well, she got her stuff back.
Oh, wow.
So he can do it
So
again. So now he
so
can do it
he could,
again.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he's
And
probably
that
out
way
there,
yeah.
yeah, we
Right.
see him. We see him on the streets, and so yeah, it's
Wow,
really
that is
sad.
so crazy.
But
So
that's
so
the kind
basically
of
he
stuff
just
that
borrowed your things, right? Like without
that
permission, but
funny you're saying that, because that was his defense. That's what he
no,
said. He was just going to borrow it and bring it back. That's exactly what he said. And the
I'm
prosecution,
certain.
I was floored. I was
Oh
like, "Are
my
you kidding me?"
gosh.
Yeah, because he knew where you lived and
Oh,
he was
yeah,
going to bring it back.
totally.
I
Just
I
gonna
was
make a
in
quick call.
Walgreens.
So insane.
It was crazy.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Maybe we don't want to go to Hawaii.
No, don't be that drastic. We still want to go to Hawaii.
No, I think yeah. I think you should.
Um,
It's fun.
It is.
and it's just strange. Again, we have this idea in our mind of what Hawaii is as, just that welcoming and calm and, live and let live. And then all of the restrictions with the Second Amendment, with tasers, and you guys had some of the biggest restrictions, even through the COVID stuff. And
Yeah.
so, like, come on, Hawaii residents, like, vote in freedom. Remember that you are part of our Constitution, right? And
Absolutely.
elect people that
Absolutely.
get that.
Yep.
So you and your husband Chemo really have you're involved in two major industries. You've got
Yes.
the gun culture, the firearms industry, and you've also got agriculture, as we can see your
Mhm.
beautiful ranch behind you in that picture. Are those two worlds, do they kind of work together, or is there
Absolutely.
a difference in the two?
No, absolutely. So here in Hawaii, especially Maui County, I know on the Big Island for a little bit, there is a huge correlation because we have such a problem with the axis deer. The deer have overpopulated to the point where the DLNR is now the state of Hawaii, who wants to prevent us from owning guns, are doing eradications via helicopter, where they just go out
Oh.
and slaughter massive amount. The herds have gotten to where they're actually in our, and I wish I had Brad, I should have got pictures of it to show you guys, but they're actually in our county parks. There's herds of 1 to up to 200-300 deer at a time that come through the
Wow.
county parks and just eat everything.
Yes.
And so on the ranches, they actually eat our food, break the fences, things like that.
Mhm.
There you can't contain a herded deer. There's been reports of over up in Haleakala ranches, or Haleakala and Ulupalakua ranch, the bigger ranches, they run thousands of acres of cattle. They've had reports of herds of up to 1,700 that's been counted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
holy
And why
So
are people
it's
hunting them or
so some of the ranches do allow hunting with their employees. Some of them don't. It kind of varies. But for us, we've had a herd constantly now for the last 7 or 8 years of about 25 to 30 of them. They just show up every now and then, and so my boys go out and we get 1 or 2 for dinner every now and then. But I'm gonna say it definitely does correspond or correlate together, because in my opinion, you can't be a rancher in Hawaii or have any type of farm for that matter, because the deer come in and eat your vegetables. They eat everything.
Mm.
And not have something for self-protection. I was actually just in a class a couple weeks ago, because I was getting my instructor certifications, and there was a lady who actually posed the question. She lives on ag property, she has a farm, she's not cattle, just fruits and vegetables. But she, every now and then they put up a fence, and every now and then they get a deer get tangled in that fence, and
Mm,
she wasn't sure if she could shoot it.
mm,
You know, she's like,
mm,
here's this deer, it's tangled up in my fence, it's obviously gonna die. By the time you find it a day or so later, it's almost ready to die. Is it
right.
okay for me to shoot it? And
Oh, wow.
our county laws say that it's illegal to discharge a firearm in a residential area within so many feet of houses.
Mm,
But on agriculture, there is a ordinance that protects you from that. That if you need to discharge a firearm, what you're supposed to do is call the police, let them know your situation and that you're going to discharge, and you're totally fine to do it. I've used that before.
mhm.
And then just in general, we have a deprivation permit that allows us to eradicate the deer on our property. So
Gotcha.
it's all permitted, but you know, there is definitely a relationship between the two.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Did
And
you say axis deer?
yes,
Like AXIS?
yes.
Okay. Are they like, the normal size deer that we would think about over here in Arizona, or are they like
Um,
smaller?
I'm gonna say some of them are quite large. They get to be quite large if they're left alone. But for
Okay.
the most part, they're probably about the size of a horse, or a little
Okay.
smaller than a horse, like
Okay. So they
a
are
few
quite
100 pounds at
large. So
least.
when
They're
you've got
quite large, the big ones. Yeah.
1,700 of those suckers show up and they are
Hungry.
just
Yep.
eating everything in sight,
Everything.
that
Yep.
is
Yep.
insanity. That's crazy. And then you said, like, if you needed to, if you're on ag land and you needed to discharge your firearm, you call the police first. So that works great until you need to discharge your firearm because you have like a human predator after you,
Right.
right?
And
So
we've also got not here in Maui. In Maui, we've got the regular it's a wild boar. But on Kauai and the
Mm,
Big Island, they have strains of the that Russian boar, the real
mm,
nasty one. So
mm,
they've got, they've got that problem as well. It's not just the deer, it's the wild pigs. They come in
mhm.
and they dig up everything, they uproot everything.
Oh man.
And that also makes it hard
Yes.
for, for us to manage. So there's a lot of opportunities. Like if you're gonna have a ranch, you're gonna be a hunter, no matter
Yes.
no matter
Yeah,
what you do. So you're gonna own firearms. You're
for
gonna
sure.
have to, teach your children to be safe around them. So that's another big thing here. Just in the last couple weeks, sadly, there was an eighth grader at one of our local schools who got into his dad's guns, got
Oh,
the gun out, took his
yeah.
life. Few weeks prior, we
Oh,
just had Derek here from Kids Safe, and
yes.
a couple of days prior to that, there was another incident, two kids playing with a BB gun,
Oh
and the
no.
one kid shot the other one. It was the boy, actually, I think he was still in the hospital, lost his memory. So it's really
Mm,
sad, and so the education part weighs heavy on us as well,
mhm,
because we're familiar with it, because we're around it. If you Our philosophy is like, if you should share, so
mhm.
you could hopefully save a life. And it,
Absolutely.
it's been tough, but we've been making ground. We've been getting more support as we go along.
That is awesome. And the Kids Safe program, as you said, is so important because
Yeah.
what is his motto? Zero
Zero
um,
accidents or something.
is like the
Yeah.
only acceptable outcome. And I
Yeah.
love that. I mean, how do you shoot for? See what I did there? How do you want anything else? How can anything else be your goal?
Yeah.
It's like, well, one is okay. No, zero is what is acceptable.
Yeah.
And when too many people just kind of put blinders on and think, well, if we don't talk about guns to kids, then nothing can happen to them, right? Or if
Yeah.
I don't own a gun in my home, then clearly my children are sheltered from all that gun ugliness, right? And that is not reality. And
No, not at all. Yeah.
so Derek, as you said, is his last name is escaping me right now.
LeBlanc.
LeBlanc.
Yeah.
That's right. Derek
Derek and
LeBlanc.
Vicky. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
My apologies, Derek. I love you. uh, but yeah, the Kids Safe program is amazing. Were you going to say something?
No,
Dan?
just saying that, the most of the Democrats think that if they just keep the kids away from the guns, they're going to be okay. And you have to use an example like a pool. if you don't own a pool, should you
Right.
still teach your kids how to swim? Because what about your
Right.
neighbors? They have pools,
Right.
or there's canals, or there's water. So guns are never going to be completely removed from the earth. And if you would teach your kids to be familiar with guns and know what to do when they see a gun, then there wouldn't be these accidents. It's
Yeah.
curiosity.
And what exactly, that's what my husband, I was just gonna say, my husband always says, once you remove the curiosity from the child,
Mhm.
they have no desire to go back and fool around with it.
Right.
So that's that's part of the education thing. And you're right, in Hawaii, we're surrounded by water. All our kids learn to swim, every
Yeah.
single one of them. When you're
Yes.
4 or 5 years old, dad gets you in the boat and throws you off the boat and says, here, make it back to shore.
Right.
That's
So,
awesome.
that's it's part of, again, part of the culture. And I think we've went in the direction that the my grandfather was a diehard Democrat, diehard. I mean, he was a lobbyist for the unions, he worked for the labor unions, and but we learned to hunt.
Mhm.
We were around guns since we were babies.
Yes.
That was part of our, because he was with the sugar plantation, there were seasons. And when they were off season, the way we'd get food was they'd go hunt. And so I don't, that's why it was hard for me to understand how, so in the last couple of years, I switched parties. I'm no longer a Democrat. But it was hard for me to understand how I grew up as a Democrat. All my uncles, everybody who worked for my grandpa at the sugar plantation, everybody in my family, my dad, everybody hunted, everybody had a gun.
Mhm.
They just didn't understand
Mhm.
what was being done in the legislature. Why, I remember being in high school and my dad had shotgun racks in the back of his Ford pickup.
Mhm.
And now you can't even, you have to have them in cases, they have to be locked, ammo has to be in a separate container, you have, there's all these restrictions here.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, that is so interesting. Is your grandpa still with us, or is he passed on?
No, he passed away in 2014. But it's still, like I said, it's still, the rest of my family couldn't understand also why I became a Republican. But I think slowly we're educating my sister and my sister, and actually both of my sisters converted a couple months back before the last election. So
Very,
they're
very
getting
cool.
it. The more they see what I'm doing, and it's like everybody wants to come shoot. Everybody wants to come have fun. We've been doing a Sunday shoot every Sunday after church. Everybody comes out and we hang out. You bring out your little whatever you got to show off and and do your thing. And so the more people want to come out and try, the more
Yeah.
we've been educating them.
Right.
That is amazing. And
So-
we say that all the time, that one of the best ways to help people begin to understand that,
Yeah.
that guns, they are powerful, they can be deadly.
Yep.
But they're fun to shoot as well.
Yeah.
And so if you can take somebody out and give them a safe experience where it really
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
just fun, and you don't hand them the biggest hand cannon,
Oh no.
to start them out. You start them out small with maybe even a BB gun or something, or a 22.
Yeah.
That is the best entry point to
Yeah.
people beginning to see for themselves. All right, I've been told all along that guns are evil and people that own guns are evil, and then you have this experience for yourself and you start going, well, I don't think I'm evil, but I kind of like that. Oh, she blipped off for a second, but hopefully she can. There she is.
I'm
Okay.
here there.
But so you're doing a huge service, and I think it's sad that the Second Amendment and gun ownership has become so political, to the fact that it causes people to change parties, because our founding documents were not political. They were written
Nope.
for everyone. And the
That's
Bill of
right.
Rights is in our Constitution. The Second Amendment is in our Bill of Rights. And people have allowed it to become so polluted that it really does kind of come down to that if you want your rights to self-defense, that you pretty much are going to start ascribing to a completely different political ideology and party. And it's just weird that it has come to that. But I admire that you've been, this leading the charge in helping people understand the
Yeah.
unfortunate reality of that.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you are also I'm the Arizona State Director of the DC project. So it just rolls out of my mouth like that now. You are the Hawaii State Director to the DC project.
Yes.
And is it specific to Maui, or are you covering all of the islands
No,
there?
so I've got assistant directors on every island right now. Oahu has been very active. They've actually held several events, and we've been kind of in connection with John Correa over there, because one of my ladies who is one of my assistant directors actually works for John over in Hawaii. She's been really active. Their chapter has been really active in teaching self-defense and pepper spray, and then I'm hoping that one of them goes and does a taser training. And then here in Maui, we've been doing a bunch of taser trainings. And then we've also, just like I said, we just started the Girl in a Gun chapter. We've been advocating like throughout this whole thing, before pre the lawsuit. We've been doing a lot of state level legislative testimony. The legislature, I think, because of COVID this year, they were nice to us. They didn't shove too many anti-gun bills through the legislature in Hawaii this year. There were still some pretty bad ones, but we got those kicked out. So that's been awesome. On the Big Island, we've been lobbying for them. Big Island of Hawaii, we've been lobbying for them to get a shooting range. And Big Island is the only island in the state of Hawaii that does not have a public range.
Oh, wow.
So we're again back to safety. When you got people shooting in their
Right.
backyards, that's not
Right.
necessarily safe, and it's not legal. So by not allowing them someplace to go, you're actually forcing people to do things that are against the law.
Yes.
So
Oh, wow.
we've gotten a bill through the legislature this year that has allocated funding for the county of Hawaii to look for and purchase land to open a public range.
Oh,
So we've been doing
fantastic.
some state level stuff and just waiting for the green light so we can get back to Washington.
Yes. Yeah. I miss our Washington trips in our
Yeah.
nation's capital. And that's how we started, right? Diana Muller, our founder, she brought
Yep.
50 women, one from each state, into our nation's capital and made appointments with our legislators.
Yep.
And then COVID hits, they locked up the Capitol, they put a fence around it, right? All the things. And so then Diana tasked us in our own states. All right, we'll find at least one woman from each legislative district.
Yeah.
So here in Arizona, we have 30. And so I've been, building my little coalition of ladies, and it really is wonderful. And the thing I want to say about the DC project is we are a nonpartisan group. We keep the politics as far out of it as we can. We do still have to talk about the fact that, all right, well, if you vote for this particular person, then you're probably voting your rights away, right? But we do have ladies from all across the political spectrum, and there might be a gajillion things we disagree on, but we are shoulder to shoulder on our desire to safeguard our Second Amendment and our
right
to keep and bear arms. So I have a much bigger pool, I think, to draw from here in Arizona than you do in Hawaii, unless you can tap into that hunter base. But so often hunters feel like, well, nobody's coming after my guns, so I'm good.
Yeah, our legislature is really weird because they did pass a law. So there's a lot of people who have firearms in the home that are not registered, but by a certain date, they're saying that everybody has to register, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. Totally.
Not.
That
never goes well historically.
But yes, exactly. So we've been fighting on that, and there's still a few more straggling bills left in the ledge that we're attacking. The Hawaii Farms Coalition has done a good job with putting up a bill tracker. Makes it really easy for people to go online and testify, or they actually have a program that Taji Kutaki and Andrew came up with that where you click on the thing and it actually tells you the bullet points of each bill. And so you can then go in and decide, hey, are you going to support this or not? And they made it really easy to get on the website and step by step tell you how to submit your testimony. So
Mhm.
we've gotten a huge response. I think there was one bill that we actually testified, they put in testimony. And for Hawaii, these are big numbers. We were in opposition 700 to 15, and we got, it was I think it was a mag ban. They were
Wow.
trying to ban 10-round magazines, and the guys got it kicked out because we were in opposition. We had
Mhm.
so many people submit testimony. It was amazing.
That is
Yes.
awesome. I've just been going to Arizona State Legislature for the first time this year to offer testimony. And of course, the first time you do it, your knees are knocking and you're thinking about all
Mhm.
the procedural things. You got to be sure and, say things in a certain way because of the protocol. And you only get like 1 to 2 minutes. And so the first time I felt like a fish out of water, although I speak all the time, right? On this show, I go travel the country and do speaking of engagements. And yet in that setting, I found myself nervous. But now that
Yeah.
I've done it several times, I love it. I absolutely love it because I can see
Yep.
the impact. I'm getting quoted in, the news all the time. And I'm not saying anything brilliant. I'm just saying something that they have not heard before. And so they're like, Cheryl Todd said this thing that was like nothing, but it was different. So it's really exciting and I love it. And you've done testimony yourself, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
we've done a ton. We've done a ton here. The the bad part is I really wish we could go back to the Legend. They're still closed, so everything's still on Zoom,
oh
and
yeah.
so that kind of makes it.
Yeah.
It doesn't give it the same. To me, it doesn't give it the same like feeling as when you're actually sitting there face to face with these guys. I think they need to see
Yes.
you know they need to see your face when you testify, because
Absolutely.
a lot of them are actually kind of not paying attention.
Yes.
And you can see that on the video. It's like, okay, here's the crazy gun people, and I'm like, dude, our legislature is, for the most part, most of them are anti-Second Amendment.
Mhm.
So whenever there are a few who really listen, but I
Mhm.
think what helps us is the numbers. Our gun community
Mhm.
has come out in numbers
Mhm.
to testify for these bills that they've been trying to put through. So our numbers have really
It
showed
matters.
that, yeah.
It matters a
Yeah.
lot, for reals. All right. Dan, did you have anything you
No,
wanted to say before we
that's it.
start wrapping
I
up?
just can't believe that Hawaii's that way.
I
I
know.
thought they were one of the states.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we like
Mm.
to come to Arizona and walk around with our guns, because we can do
Right.
that there, not here.
Freedom, no doubt. All righty. Well, thank you so much for all that you do. And you do so much. You've got to be inspiring people around you to step up and help out. The fact that you've got an assistant director for the DC project and all the different islands, that right there tells me you know how to collaborate, you know how to build a
We
team.
try.
Absolutely. That's
We try.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the DC project has a big fundraiser coming up, a big match coming up
Oh.
soon.
Well, I saw something about it in our base camp. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, well, I'll just direct people to go to
Yep.
dcproject.info and they can
Info.
learn more about that. You just held a big
Yes.
fundraiser
We
there, so your
did.
head's probably still spinning from all of
A little
that.
bit. Yeah. We're still trying to get over that one.
It was wonderful. I wish we
It
could have come. Oh, but it was very
it
well
was amazing.
attended and it was called Beef
Yes.
and Bullets, right?
Beef and bullets. Yeah, trying to bring agriculture and gun culture together, like you said earlier. Um, we actually had a really good turnout for that, and we raised a ton of money for DC project. We had a really nice SK Firearms donated a Colt 1911 special
Awesome.
with some Hawaiian print on it. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, it was. I
So
love it.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again so much. Tell folks, Miss Christy Guzman, how people can continue to follow all the work you do.
They can check us out on the web. We've got a website, the Hawaii Youth Livestock Association. It's hyla.org. And I usually post a lot of our events there. We focus a lot on the Keiki kids firearms training. We're also on Instagram, Facebook. I have a Girl in a Gun Hawaii page getting started, and also a DC project. So we're the Maui Aloha chapter of A Girl in a Gun, and then DC Project Hawaii chapter as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. This was a
Thank you, guys.
blessing. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It's hard for me to believe that it's that way.
It's nuts, right?
Well, I mean, we know what California does, but this is crazy. A taser.
I know. And, it's funny how she said she thinks they're the second most restrictive state. So funny that we don't, talk about that more.
Right.
And I think it's because most people just assume that it's a freedom state.
Right.
And here we come to find out it's not a freedom state. And then we ask the lady who grew up there, who is multi-generational there, and we say, why are you not a freedom state? What was her answer? This is horrible. Her answer was because the unions created a bunch of Democratic voters who were Democrats, right? And the Democrats in the state have receded, pulled away freedoms.
Control, just like the unions control. Sorry.
It's mind-boggling. And I hate to bring politics into it. I hate it because I want to hold as close to this document as we possibly can. And the Second Amendment is not political. It was not designed to be political.
Is there a Democrat and a Republican version of this?
You would think.
There's not, though, is there? See anything on there?
The Democrats are going to start writing their own version, to be honest with you.
Okay, so then if you're a Democrat, you go by their rules. If you're a Republican, go by this rule. I'm okay with that. If the Democrats don't, if they want to have their own rules, okay. Everybody just have to wear some kind of ID. I'm a Democrat. Oh, you can't have a gun. You got to go.
Right.
Okay, let's do that. Well, but leave this one alone. Leave this alone.
That is an interesting premise. Somebody should do a movie short or something about that. I was thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if we could sort of see how things would unfold?
Right.
If, we had certain states that had, and we do
have
individual
that
states
already,
have different rights, but where it was just expounded sort of to the extreme of our ideals, whether we're Democrat or whether we're Republican or whether we're libertarian or whatever, and just see how those areas, whether they thrive or don't, and what are the.
Well, we already have it. Cheryl, let's look at Arizona.
Mhm.
How much crime do we have in Arizona? We have crime.
Mhm.
Every city has crime. But by the amount of people that we have versus other cities, let's take the other movie,
Mhm.
Chicago,
Mhm.
and look at it there.
Mhm.
Now, they blame it on, well, the states around us have lower gun laws. So, but those states don't have a problem.
Mhm.
Now, why would that be? Chicago has a problem with guns because of other states that are close by, but the other states that are close by don't have the problem with the guns that are supplying the guns to Chicago, supposedly.
Mhm.
So tell me, what is the real reason? The real reason is because it's just like the example that Christy gave earlier, is that the homeless man took her stuff, she defended herself, and
Right.
she got in trouble for it.
Right.
And that guy was let off.
Right.
Why? So they could do it again. And now next time he gets more brazen, right? They
Right.
Nobody just starts off, I'm gonna go be a hood killer, murder, all that. They start out slow and they gradually excel to a higher level. And so when they're able to when you get away with the crime,
And they play the system.
then they go to the next level, and then they go to the next level.
And they have the jury defending them, saying, well, you got your stuff back. So
Yeah.
how were you
Right.
harmed?
So,
Right?
so the example is we
It's
already have those two movies.
I mean, in a sense, you're right. Absolutely. But I just think it would be an interesting, to be able to really put it in a microcosm and play it out in the form of a movie, so that we could see for our own eyes, how would these policies, if that was all that was in play in an area, how would it play out with agriculture, with gun rights, with water rights, with land rights, with infrastructure? Do we really? And I think we do. I think we need the blend. I think we need strong ideas and strong parties in each of those camps, because in the tension is where we get our
Right.
best. We like great competition, right? With our gun shop, with our auction house, we want good, strong competition
Honest,
because
good,
it keeps
right.
us sharp.
But everybody has to follow the same rules. Okay. This is like me, competition with another gun shop.
Mhm.
I have no problem with competition with another gun shop as long as we have the same rules. They don't get favoritism by the city. They don't get favoritism here. They don't
Mhm.
get favoritism by the distributors.
Mhm.
Everybody works on the same playing field.
Mhm.
And if we have this, and this is our base,
Mhm.
and everybody, you can't alter this. It's too short to alter it. It's too
Well, they
easy,
have
right?
expanded
So
it greatly over the years.
let's
so.
don't alter this and then let everybody play. So the Democrats can't take away, or I don't, you know what? There are some ideas that Democrats have
Mhm.
that are good ideas,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But what the problem is, their bad ideas are so much overbearing
Mhm.
that you can't say that
Yeah.
there's good things
Or
about
they're
them.
good intended.
Right.
It feels good to think about this law being implemented or whatever. But then when you see the ultimate results, does it feel good or does it do good? And a lot of times the ones that feel good actually result in
Well,
very bad results.
don't the rulers and the people that work with rulers of socialist countries feel good about what they do?
I'm not sure, they might.
But then,
And
right,
let's not just pick on the Democrats,
I
right?
said
They're
socialist.
I know, but I'm just saying that the Republicans have ideas that maybe feel good and then don't do good
Right.
as well. So I
Oh, they
just want to
do.
be
They
fair
do.
about
They
that.
do. And
Libertarians, same thing.
you think about, I
So-
mean, the in the 60s when Kennedy was a Democrat, but if you look at the 60s now,
Mhm.
they were Republican ideas, kind of.
Well, there's definitely been that.
Yeah.
Is it called the Overton window
Yeah.
shift
Yeah.
over the years? But anyway,
Straighten up Hawaii.
interesting. Yeah, straighten up Hawaii, please. Holy cow. Somebody like Christy and her husband, Chemo, being as involved and active as they are and helping others get involved and get active. And they could, seriously, in a generation, they could impact that voting
Right.
base. And that's one thing that I want to encourage other people all across this nation. When we sit on the sidelines, we're not helping anybody but the other side of the conversation that we wouldn't agree with.
Right.
When we are in the conversation, we are active, we are doing things. That is where the rubber meets the
Right.
road. And we really all need to get more focused and educated in the ways that we bring up new leaders and vote them in to represent us, and then to hold their feet to the fire from that point forward.
Right.
We've had a good long vacation of just sitting at home comfortable and letting somebody else figure it out, but we don't have that liberty anymore. All right.
And the cool thing is we don't have to risk our lives in another country to fight for our rights. We need to do it right here.
Yeah.
And it's a lot safer, more secure, and you can go home at night.
Yeah, that's so true. All right. Well, thank you to Miss Christy Guzman and her amazing husband, Chemo, and all that they're doing over there in Maui and Hawaii in general. Thank you to our awesome listeners everywhere that you are. Wherever there is internet, we have viewers and listeners, and we recognize you. We are so appreciative for you, because we would have these awesome conversations anyway. But the fact that we get to share them with you, and then we know that you are sharing them around your dinner tables and your carpools and, with your children's soccer games and that sort of thing, just chewing on the ideas, right, with your friends and your family. That's amazing.
Right.
Thank you so much for that. If you want to watch this video over again or any of our other shows, you can go to our YouTube channel. Please click subscribe and notifications. Our Gun Streamer channel, gunstreamer.com. Same thing, please subscribe and notifications. And also the smartphone app called OpsLens, OpsLens. So you can listen on the go or watch on the go. And then if you do want to listen to the audio only version while you're out for a long bike ride or car ride or something like that, or doing the housework around the house, click on or go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com. Click the on demand tab. And Danny,
Binge listens to your heart's content, darling.
he has really taken that up a notch, I think, every time he says this. Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about all of our guests we've ever had, including Christy Guzman, click the guest tab. There is a huge body of work there of photographs of each guest and links to their works, books they've written, articles they've written. It's just a wonderful resource. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. All right. Until next time, what are we going to do, Mr. Todd?
We're going to pray for our nation,
Absolutely. Going to pray for our leaders.
pray for our representatives.
How about the ones we don't like?
And, personally, I don't know any of them personally.
Right.
So how can I not like them?
Okay.
How can I like or not like them?
Okay. Fair enough.
Right? Is that right?
That's true.
Right. I mean, you should never say, I don't like that person when you don't even know who that person is.
Right.
Sure hate the way they rule though,
That's right.
because they're ruling.
Love the person. Don't love the behavior.
No, we
right?
need to pray for them too. We need to
Absolutely.
pray for everybody. We
Maybe
need to pray that
especially.
the America gets the knowledge from the people to get out there and hold these rulers accountable.
Yeah. Because they're not supposed to be rulers. They're
No.
supposed to be representatives. Absolutely. All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week and God bless.
Bye-bye.